And recording.
It's good.
um, I think we've started pretty much as we mean to carry on tonight.
Absolutely.
Should we have some titles?
Go on then, I dare you.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tackle Box.
And indeed, we are on air.
Apparently so.
Seamlessly.
Seamlessly.
Just the way it should be. And,
Two old pros together.
just in case anybody thinks they've accidentally tuned into X Factor, this is not X Factor. This is Dave's Tackle Box. It's Sunday, the 9th of December 2012. It's little after 9 o'clock. Yeah. Or as I heard some continuity guy say on the TV earlier, 2 more sleeps till Christmas if you're an insomniac. Which I thought was rather witty for a continuity guy. Right, anyway, welcome to Dave's Tackle Box. We've got a slightly different format of show tonight. Partly due to the fact that I haven't been home for very long, and partly due to the fact that there are a couple of interesting things that have popped up during the course of the week. And so Dave Dawn here has kindly agreed to join me, and we're going to sort of chew the fat and have a look at a couple of these things. So without giving too much away, we're going to be talking about... you might remember a little while ago, e-cig commissioned a piece about electronic cigarettes that appeared in the Times newspaper. And that was put together by a marketing company called Raconteur. And, well, they're back talking about e-cigs again. There's kind of a part 2. And we were looking at that a little earlier and pulled out a couple of interesting points, which we'll be having a chat about later. We're also going to be getting you up to speed on the latest developments with Vapex 2013. And should we play the trailer now, Dave?
Yeah, go on, why not?
And welcome back. Yes, so we're going to be just telling you the latest on Vapex, really, and how things are coming along, because people keep asking. And we promised we'd tell you when we knew, so we'll tell you what we know.
When
But
we know it.
first, when we know it.
Yes,
But we know some stuff now. That's the point.
we do.
We do. If we've forgotten a lot of it, but we still know some of it. So we'll tell you.
I blame the Coke. It has already been noticed in chat, Dave, that you are drinking beer from a Coke can.
Right. Okay. Time to fess up. Last night, I went to Manchester to see The Damned, supported by the Dickies. We arrived just after lunch. I started drinking then.
Right.
I stopped just in time to be sober enough to drive home again this morning.
Right.
So,
Is that properly? Well, no, we better not say it on screen.
tomorrow morning I have to get up at 4 a.m. At which point starts the Christmas stroke birthday stroke leaving my job celebrations. So there will be alcohol featuring tomorrow after a very long day as well. So I thought I'm going to do the sensible thing here and just stick to nicotine and caffeine.
Okay.
And Coke has caffeine, you know, so...
Wimp.
So, but moving along swiftly... the other thing we're going to talk about tonight... Oh, to be honest with you, the viewers, this is going to be a learning experience for me almost as much as you. I know a little bit about this. But I'm going to put up a web page here, and hopefully you'll still be able to hear us. Yes, I can see the little LEDs moving.
Oh, that's always good.
This is a web page for a site called plotnewcourse.org.uk. And if you sort of surf around this thing, you can see that Plotting a New Course is a conference that's coming up on, I think it was the 25th and 26th of February in 2013, so that's just a couple of months away. It's a conference discussing, it describes itself here on the website as the leading forum for the critical analysis of responses to drugs, alcohol and tobacco. 2 days of high-level presentations, debate and discussion. And it seems to be, to give it a rather loose and convenient term, it seems to be a kind of forum for discussion of ideas and policy formation for harm reduction as an approach. I know that Jerry Stimson, who you've had as a guest on VT Talk a couple of times and has been very well received by our viewers, is the director of this thing. There are other sort of drug sort of policy thinking tanks and all the rest of it involved in there. But I noticed when I look at the programme that one of the speakers who's listed was some bloke I recognised, and I'm trying to find that now. Here it is. It says just after lunch on the first day, as a speaker, David Dawn, Vapor Trails TV, Vaping, E-cigarettes and the Future of Nicotine. And this is basically under a heading they're calling Ideas and Insights from Outside of the Current Mainstream Policy and Practice Framework. So, which all sounds great, you know, and there's lots of big words and all the rest of it in there. But, Dave, he says, seamlessly bringing him back onto screen, what's it all about, mate?
It's actually about me upsetting people on this occasion. We've seen far too much of the World Health Organization's take on things and various other bodies. And Jerry's asked me to go down and basically put the fear of God into an awful lot of folks and tell it like it is from our point of view. So no legislation without representation is basically, if you're going to decide about us, you've got to do it with us, that kind of thing. So I will have my allotted slot and I shall be telling some home truths and trying to give a few examples of why e-cigs are, in my opinion, and in very many people's opinion, the best thing since sliced bread, to kind of oft overused phrase. And to try to exemplify to the policymakers why they should be encouraging the uptake of e-cigs, not doing what they're currently doing, which apparently is trying to regulate them out of existence. So yeah, between now and then, there'll be a couple of segments on VT Talk where I am looking for opinion, and I want to know what everybody thinks. I want to know what they think about regulation. I want to know what they think about promotion. I basically want to get a good feel for what our wider community feels about e-cigs generally, although I think I know. And then I'm going to go there and scare a few folks and upset a few people, because I'll be pulling a few, or calling a few people to task, if you like, and saying where we and they disagree quite vehemently in some cases. I'll shut up now, Dave, your turn.
No, that's fine. That's all good stuff. I mean, these guys, do they have the ear of the policymakers when it comes to things like sort of government policies on e-cigs, or?
The policymakers will be there. There will be very, very high-level representatives from the government bodies that have responsibility for this kind of thing, possibly including ministers and almost certainly including MPs. This isn't right. This isn't just a whole load of lads getting together and chewing the fat. This is the real I am. Jerry Stimson doesn't mess about with this kind of thing, and he has the ear of the very, very top people. And they will be there. As you'll have seen, Deborah Arnott from Ash will be in attendance. I'll be having a good natter with her. And indeed, I've already been contacted by one or two people from Ash, from Nice, and one or two other places that are saying they're looking forward to sitting down and talking with me. I've got no idea why. As I said, my aim is basically just to represent us, the e-cig users of the UK, in the best way I possibly can, and to put our case as forcibly as I possibly can. That's what it's all about. And if it gets anything moving, brilliant. And I'll freely admit I'm quite looking forward to it.
Absolutely,
it gives us a chance to be heard.
Can interested parties turn up, or?
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain of how it all works, but I mean there is a delegate cost of, I think it's 145
yeah,
quid.
just found it on the site actually, so I'll flick that up. Sort of answered my own question to a large extent. Registration closes on Friday the 22nd at 11 o'clock of February, that is, sorry. Registration is £145, but if you do 5 bookings or more, you can get 20 quid a head off. So we'll put that link up in our forum to the site for anybody that might be interested. It's in London. I think I mentioned that.
It's at the Fence House, yes.
Now, the first thing that springs to mind is I get a little uneasy when my sort of pretty safe hobby starts getting lumped in with things like alcohol and drug control. But I guess this is the forums that if we want these things to be considered as harm reduction, as a harm reduction strategy, if you like, then we've got to appear where the harm reduction's been discussed.
Well, that's right. I mean, okay, there will be, I think, a proportion of our population that will be a little worried about, as you say, the proximity of drugs people being there. But the bottom line on it is the way the World Health Organization particularly is looking at e-cigs, and the EU, given that the directive has been resurrected on the 30th of November, diametrically opposed to what everybody was expecting. Since there is such a downer on there, and since, you know, the drugs people, if you like, have the same kind of viewpoint, or have been viewed in the same sort of way as e-cigs seem to be being viewed by WHO and Europe, then it seems only right, in actual fact, that we learn from them, and they perhaps can learn from us. I don't know, but certainly we'll be put into a position where we can talk to people whose views may change as a result of what we say. As I say,
yeah.
I've got meetings set up with people from organisations that directly affect what's happening with e-cigs and whose voice has already been heard. And there may be the opportunity to discuss and explain and demonstrate and show that, you know, their actions may not have been that wise in the past. I
Okay.
don't know. I mean, only time will tell. And as we get closer and closer to the event itself, I'll be a lot more clued up on who I'm talking to and indeed who else is going to be there.
Yeah, and of course, at any rate, you can't not take part in this if the subject is going to be discussed.
Well, that's right. I mean, Lazy Dog has asked, will there be echo response and frame on this?
Yes, I was about to pick that one out. Actually, that's I don't know whether you know more than me about it, Dave, but I honestly don't know.
Seriously, I mean, I was only asked a couple of weeks ago whether I would be prepared to come down and speak, and obviously I've said yes. I would hope that there'll be representation from ECHA. I would hope that there would be representation from ASETA and any other interested bodies, whoever they may be. It's not like the World Health Organization, where you have to be wholly and 100% in tune with what the FCTC is trying to do, otherwise you can't come in. And even if you can come in, they're going to kick you out anyway because they want to do everything behind closed doors. This is it's an open door policy as far as I can see, and potentially the opportunity for low key lobbying, for talking to people. I'm not that keen on the whole idea of lobbying per se, because it's got kind of some bad connotations about it, you know, spin doctors and that kind of thing. But having conversations and show and tell, like, you know, this is an e-cig. Seriously, it looks now like an e-cig.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. You know, we've got the opportunity, I think, to actually make some representation on our own behalf, in an open forum, in front of a lot of people, and a lot of people who matter. I'm really quite excited by it.
Yeah, I can understand why as well. Just something else I've just noticed as well. It's in a section entitled "What are we missing from the current debates and policy developments? Neglected and difficult issues."
Yes,
which is interesting in its own right. So
this is why Jerry's expecting me to upset a few people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I probably will. But, you know, all of the ammunition is there. All of the ammunition is there.
Well, it's interesting that the other two speakers in that little segment, the first one is a guy called Russell Newcomb, who says he's an independent consultant. Why will we always be a few steps behind the curve regarding new drugs? That's going to be his topic.
Yes.
Then somebody called Andy Foster from Trading Standards is going to be talking about fake alcohol and tobacco.
Yes.
And that should be a nice lead-in.
I think so. I mean, again, I don't think I'm going to be saying anything that we haven't already said on VT Talk or on VT TV as a whole. I don't think I'm going to be saying anything that would be surprising to any current user of e-cigs, certainly none that's a member of any of the forums.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the arguments are pretty well rehearsed, and they're also pretty well known to the majority of us that are sat here tonight, even.
Indeed.
Watching on demand and what have you. But I think that there are a lot of deaf ears out there, and they're going to be opened. I may have to take elocution lessons before I go, but their ears will be opened quite volubly if I have my own way.
That's what I'm going to ask the cheeky question now. Are you going to be doing your own PowerPoint slides?
Well, yes, I probably will be doing a set of slides, and I'm going to be taking a machine with me. I was just sitting thinking about this the other night, and I'm going to take a fog machine. I have a giant one. It's huge. It's for doing arena events. And I'm going to fill the place with vapor.
Yeah. Completely,
totally and utterly, till it's not see-throughable. And they'll all be sitting breathing that, and I'm just going to ask the question, how many of you are worried by this? And when they say none, I'll say, well, leave e-cigs alone then, because that's what you do. You're vaping, all of you.
I think that sounds like a good approach, actually, mate. I really do. Yeah, so I think this is this sounds like a hell of an opportunity. We're going to move on and discuss a couple of other things now. But first of all, we're going to take a short break. So we'll be back in 2 and a bit minutes, folks.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tackle Box.
Good evening. Taking a while to get things lined up and ready to go. But I'm here now, so welcome to Dave's Tackle Box.
So there we go, I'm back in the room and not long to go now. So yeah, I was talking to my son and he's watched me make things before.
Vapex TV tell us tonight being Wednesday night, it is time for the one and only chat show programme called PT Talk.
It is the Haze Hour. Again, Keith was just saying if it wasn't for the titles, he wouldn't come and do the show. He loves them so much, don't he? Alright.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tackle Box.
And welcome back. And yes, as Dave's just pointed out to me, I haven't got the latest version of the little trailer there with all the Marco was missing. But we'll fix that for next week. That's no problem. We can do that. So, you know.
Indeed.
Seamless.
I've just spied what Vaporman has just this very second typed into chat. The DD should do some nose vaping and freak him right out. No, I shall be the picture of propriety.
Yes, I can imagine.
Occasionally shove my glasses up my nose while I'm talking about certain organisations.
Right. Now then. Right, where were we? We were going to talk about this raconteur thing. That's right. Now,
Yes.
a while ago, and we covered it quite sort of heavily on this show, actually. I think I did a thing with Dougie, and we had the pull-out from the Times, which was kind of like an infomercial sort of piece. Was sort of inspired by e-cig, the Electronic Cigarette Industry Trade Association, and it was there was some good stuff in there, wasn't there, about e-cigs, and Vapor Trails managed to get their name in there and all the rest of it, as I recall. But you actually brought this to my attention earlier this week. You spotted that the raconteur have done more, shall we say. They've done more stuff on e-cigs. So if I just get that up on the screen where everybody can see it. And there it is, the raconteur. And this apparently, Dave, this went out as a pull-out in the Times again, did it? as far as you know.
To be honest, I'm not entirely certain. I'm not a Times reader.
Here we go. It says at the top, all articles were originally featured in the Sunday Times and the Times. So there you go. So under their sort of lifestyle categories, they call it, they've got a series here of articles, all dated the 6th of December. So when was that? That was Friday or Thursday or Friday. And the first one, sort of industry booming as e-cigs catch on, and and you've got to bear in mind that these features, they're not news, they're effectively sponsored articles in most cases. There's another one here suggesting that tobacco companies are playing catch up. Jason Hess investigates how the e-cigarette market is developing and the reaction of the big tobacco companies, and that's something we've been paying a lot of interest to for quite a long time on Vapor Trails TV. There's some other stories here, and maybe we can come back to them, but I say we get straight to the nitty gritty on this one, Dave?
Yes, go for it.
If we scroll right down to the bottom of the screen here, there's under the heading of what experts say about e-cigs. And this is quite short, so we can read this out. The first photograph that you'll see there on the screen is Kath Devlin. Kath. And they've got this little sort of vox pop, and then quotes from different people. So the vox pop opinion is often split on the subject of electronic cigarettes, as Jason Hess discovers talking to sector leaders. So Catherine Devlin, president of the Electronic Cigarette Industry Trade Association, is quoted as saying, "At the moment, smokers have no choice. It's quit or die. Everyone is waiting for smokers to just get on and die. That's the message we're getting from the World Health Organization and the government. It's disgusting. Smokers should be told the truth about their options. E-cigarettes are products that offer freedom of choice for consumers and give them an alternative option to the quit or die approach." And that's not going to get any disagreement out of you or I, is it, Dave?
There's absolutely not a hope in hell. That's exactly the way the World Health Organization sees it.
Indeed.
And exactly the way the EU sees it.
Exactly. So if we carry on down that list, the next guy that's quoted there is the guy who's got the top of his head cut off by the photographer, Professor Robert West, the Director of Tobacco Studies at the Cancer Research UK Health Behaviour Research Centre. And what he has to say is, the principle of a pure nicotine delivery system to substitute cigarettes would be a massive benefit in terms of public health, but it needs to be regulated. Nicotine is a toxin which is highly active on the central nervous system. I can't see how you can have what is clearly a pharmaceutical product with a psychoactive drug without medicinal regulation. It's not logical. If I was to meet that guy now, I'd say, well, what about cigarettes? Well, there you go.
He's wandering about with his head firmly inserted into his anal orifice. Given that I don't know any smoker of combustible tobacco, whether it be cigarettes, pipes, cigars, anything. I don't know any of them that smoke these things for the tar and for the potential diseases that they may get. And I stress may get.
Yes.
Everybody smokes for the nicotine. I don't notice cigarettes being taken under medicinal regulation. So, yes, perhaps he might like to extract his shoulders from his buttock and tip his head with it and then live in the real world.
That's very nicely put. Yeah, if they had your picture on the bottom of there with a quote, that would be the one probably, Dave.
It would, yes. Get your head out your arse and live in the real world.
Let's carry on down the list. Next guy is Dr. David O'Reilly. Now that I recognise that name immediately. David O'Reilly. Do you remember when we first picked up on the Nico Ventures thing with British American Tobacco?
Indeed.
He was the guy that was quoted in that piece in the Financial Times that we very first stumbled on, probably more than a year ago now.
It's getting on for 18 months.
Is it really that long? Well, there you go. And I remembered his name. But he's got a slightly different angle on his latest comment. This one says the small e-cigarette players will disappear over time Sorry, I should say he's the Group Scientific Director of British American Tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So he's about as unbiased as the guys above. The small e-cigarette players will disappear over time, because as these products become more popular and more consumers want to use them, big players will use their important supply chains and marketing firepower to overtake them. But it is mostly the burden of regulation that will change the market. Unless you are prepared to invest a lot of money into the necessary science and clinical work to show that your product is efficacious, you're done.
Yes.
Done. Gone.
That's upsetting. I find that upsetting.
I find that outrageous.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. If the huge companies, the multinational companies, decide that they want the market, then they've got the money and the clout to be able to take the market. It's not a situation I would like to see occur. But it depends wholly and solely on regulation. While there is no regulation, they can't really take the whole market, not as easily as they might think. Certainly not in what you would call the community, our community. And I am aware that there are two sides, if you like, to the e-cig users in the UK. There's the general, the populace, the 650, 700, 750,000 that are constantly using this kind of thing, the lucky likeys, and perhaps even an ego that they buy from the corner shop or various different online e-tailers, as you might say. And then there are those of us who watch VTTV, use this kind of stuff, or, you know...
Enthusiasts is a commonly used
more
word.
enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Now, it's a fact that we enthusiasts, the community, if you like, represents probably no more than 10% of e-cig users in the UK, and that's probably applicable worldwide, truth be told. As big as ECF is, it still doesn't have all 2 million e-cig users that are in the US.
Indeed.
So he might be right, but we're starting to get comments in from chat, Dave. Jimbo UK 1977. I said, yeah, what he means is we'll stamp out little e-stores and then jack the prices up tenfold. I'm not sure about the jacking the prices up. Seriously, I'm not. Flying Dragon says, think not just users, but also the smaller retailers should work together to make us as a whole stronger. And again, it's a very, very good point of view, very good opinion that. There is a danger that from the retailer's point of view, the big boys could come in and sweep everybody under the carpet. That danger does exist. However, I don't think that would apply to the modders, the mod makers of this world, the foggies.
It depends, doesn't it? It depends what this regulation looks like. And the modders can produce as much hardware as we need. Christ, you've only got to watch a couple of episodes of Tin Your Tip and you can do it yourself. But
Absolutely.
the concern, obviously, is the juice, is it not?
Well, yes. Between the big players and government, I think we're between a rock and a hard place. There's already discussions going on with the FDA in the States, as we heard on Thursday night. And Kev, who has his ear very well at the ground, Kev from Vapex Place,
Indeed,
is convinced that the end game on that is going to be cartomizers, pre-filled cartomizers, and no loose juice, as it were. And I can well imagine that the tobacco companies that are getting involved would like to see that be the case. It's a more profitable model.
Indeed, of course it is. Yeah, absolutely.
And has to be. You know, it gets people tied in. But the really unfortunate thing is it's also the model that is most likely to be seen favourably by the regulators.
It's so convenient and neat for the likes of the MHRA, for the likes of the big companies who can achieve marketing authorisations. There's a certain inevitability about this for me.
Well, I mean, you know, when you think about it, if you go to buy aspirin phenylgesic, ibuprofen, any of these things, you can only buy so many tablets in a blister pack, and the amount that you can buy on a per box basis is lower than the LDA 50 for that particular substance, whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
Whether it's aspirin or it doesn't really make any difference what it is, but it's, in other words, you can't get a lethal dose. You can't buy a lethal dose. And so they're going to look at something like a cartomizer and say, even though it's got 45 milligram juice in, it's actually only containing 30 milligrams of nicotine.
Yeah.
So you can buy a blister pack with one of those in. You might be able to buy a blister pack with 2 of those in. Or you might be able to buy a blister pack with 5 that contain 10 milligrams of nicotine. So you're still below the LDA 50 for an adult, which is set at 60 milligrams. And that plays straight into the hands of everybody that flogs lucky likeys. And it's so convenient for the regulators because they don't then have to take any responsibility. No, we made sure you couldn't buy a lethal dose. That was what we made sure. We're looking after you. Nanny knows best. Come here while I change your nappy and talcum your backside for you.
Yep.
And that really is one of the things that I want to be talking about in February and saying, look, under my kitchen sink with a brand new grandchild on the way, I have a bottle of stuff that you pour down the drains to clean everything out. One glass, a small glass of that, and my as yet unborn grandchild would be laid dead before me in double quick time. We're responsible people. We're all adults. We don't need nannying like that. They need to butt out, frankly. And this is one of the things I want to try and get across, if we can, in February. But yeah, getting back to the big players coming in with all the money. Yeah, they're going to be looking at potentially and in all probability replacing lit tobacco with e-cigs or inhaled nicotine in a purer base, whether that's the pyruvate, whether it's e-cigs, whatever it happens to be. That's what they're going to be looking to doing, because within 20 years that's what they're going to have to be doing. Otherwise the likes of the World Health Organization will have them out of business. That is, after all, their ultimate aim.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Sad state of affairs.
It is a very sad state of affairs. It is, and another thing that's another observation that I made after looking at this site as well is that the raconteur, obviously originally that was a sort of a UK trade industry driven piece, and they've clearly moved beyond that now.
Yes, this one doesn't appear to be, if you like, it doesn't appear to have the governance of any particular organisation behind it. This actually looks as though it's been researched journalism, and it's all the better for that, because it's actually brought stuff, to the fore that we didn't otherwise know.
The one guy that we didn't read the quote from is Simon Christou from Libero. I've spoken to Simon a few times. A nice guy, and but his comment here: the future of our industry rests squarely on effective regulation, customer support, and the continued development of quality products. We have seen strong growth in our market since we started in 2008, and we have innovated many new products. But further work needs to be done to raise the level of consumer understanding that our industry is regulated. So I think Simon here is actually referring to the fact that we're regulated by trading standards and so on and so on. But that opening quote, the future of our industry rests squarely on effective regulation, customer support, and the continued development of quality products. Somebody who didn't perhaps understand what Simon is probably suggesting there may think he agrees with Mr. O'Reilly.
That's the delights of selective quoting, that is.
Indeed. Because I'm sure that Simon is not keen on needing an MA. I'm sure of that.
I would think he's definitely not keen on needing an MA. And yes, it's, as we said on VT Talk a while ago, it's eminently possible that we could get fully effective regulation via trading standards. And in fact, that's what I would be looking for if we were to have regulation at all. But, of course, that can be picked up. That particular paragraph conveys mixed messages that I'm pretty sure Simon would not have intended.
That is my thinking also. Now, let's just have a quick look in chat there. So there's some discussion going on, I can see.
There is. Do you want me to read some stuff out that's been to us by Kat?
If you've got... Oh, yes. I was unaware that Kat was feeding us, actually. So.
She's doing her VT talk role. Good girl. Tell you, man, the team's brilliant. It's wonderful. The support we get is brilliant.
Isn't it just?
From Maddie Paulus. He says, lookalikes you see in the shops are overpriced. Most vendors sell them at half to 2/3 of the price of the ones you see in petrol station, cost cutter, and the local news agent. And then he says, how can you limit people to 2 cartos a week? That would mean limiting people to 20 analogues a week. Now, you don't limit them to 2 cartos a week, Maddie. You limit them to buying 2 at a time. So you go into Boots, then you go into the news agents, then you go into the shop next door that sells them as novelty, then you go into, and you come away with 30 or 40 of them. Of course, that's what you do. In terms of price, yeah, when you go to petrol stations, cost cutter and the local news agent, bear in mind they are buying them from wholesalers. And those wholesalers are buying them at the same price that the vendors are buying them at. They've got to make their markup and then they're selling them on. It's not like the vendors we know and love that bring them in direct from China. These petrol stations and what have you are buying them from wholesalers, and the wholesalers are marking up before they go. But Russell VR Ord has also chimed in and said, it will change soon, Maddie. I know of one company that will soon be putting stuff out there at a fraction of the current prices to the small retailers. I will say this, Russ. The small retailers will see what price all of their other small retailers are charging, and they'll come in 5 pence cheaper, not much more. It's business. Jeff Benyon has asked, didn't the paracetamol limit come in due to people using it to OD? Never heard of anyone doing that with nicotine. Well, yes, that's exactly why it came in, and that's exactly why they've done it with everything else ever since. If it has an LD50,
that's right,
I'll buy it above the LD50. And where are we at? Russell's said he has been to see some other company that is on a different level to what we're used to, and Vaporman has said the best thing they could do is sort out quality control from China, which is an interesting thought.
It is an interesting thought, and it's a valid thought. I guess, though, the first topic is regulation, because that's going to go over the top of all of that. You know, at the moment that it becomes classed as a medicine, things are going to get tougher to even get it directly from China.
They always have the option of a ban order.
Mm-hmm.
If they implement a ban order, then getting stuff through customs from China will be as difficult or more difficult than getting stuff through customs from America without paying the duty. If a ban order is implemented, then if they see a foreign company consistently trying to export to the UK with incorrect nomenclature or identifying numbers or whatever it happens to be on the parcel,
then they start seizing pallets, don't they? That's what they do.
They're exactly what the US did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I guess in the short term we do what we can. The conference that you're attending is one such opportunity to keep stating the case, but we'll keep our eye on this one, I think, and see how this starts to shape up. Yeah, just a little concerning that, you know, we're discussing. I've got the same website on screen there that we had 6 months ago, whatever it was, and we were very positive, and now all of a sudden we're a little suspicious. So let's.
Yes, we live in interesting times, Dave. We've got some work to do, I think, as a body, as a movement. And you don't normally hear me call this a movement, but we do have some work to do. We need really all to be singing from very similar hymn sheets and explaining things the way they really are, and perhaps even moderating the language that we use and falling in line with the kind of language that the World Health Organization, the MHRA, the EU, we need to understand what they mean by certain phrases and ensure that we don't use those phrases in the way we understand them, lest we're misunderstood in what we say.
Yeah, that sounds like a sensible advice. Dave, let's take a break.
Indeed.
We're back in another 2.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tackle Box.
The GG, because you want one.
iVaper and iVaper Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iVaper.co.uk and iVaper-elixir.co.uk. iVaper and iVaper-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VaporTrails.tv.
If you can't watch our shows live, try some of these. Go to YouTube at youtube.com/user/VaporTrailsTV and you can subscribe there. All of our shows are uploaded as soon as possible after they've gone out live. Enjoy watching it on YouTube. Lots of people do. Alternatively, go to Google and type in podcast vaportrails.tv and iTunes. Click on the link and that will take you to a page that shows you the Vapor Trails TV podcast. View it in iTunes, and when you get to iTunes, don't forget to click on subscribe free, and each of the shows will be downloaded to your hard drive as soon as they come out. Or you can use video on demand. Go to www.vaportrails.tv, click on vPlayer, pick the show you want to watch, in this case it's the Haze Hour, and then you can pick the episode that you want to watch from every one that we've ever done. They're all there. Under normal circumstances, you'll watch it at 360p, which means everybody can see it. It'll go full screen. You can do whatever you want with it. So there you go, 3 ways that you can watch vaportrails.tv. Subscribe and enjoy. Thanks.
Cloud9 Vaping, sponsors of Dave's Tackle Box.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, now I gather there were a few questions sort of raining in there, or points
Comments.
being made. Comments, yeah, that's a good
Lots
word.
of comments. Lazy Dog was saying, if they ban imported nick, we are screwed. Backstreet operations will pop up with no care for health. Thomas Bay saying there'll be black market nick juice. Vape and Daz was agreeing with Lazy Dog, saying that yes, it would go underground. Old Git says it makes him wonder if stocking up now on juice would be seen as a knee-jerk reaction or as a prudent one. Well, Flying Dragon reckons that it's a scary thing, but it's what he can easily see happen, this whole idea of underground nick. And there's an awful lot of comments along those lines. You know, blokes in dark corners flogging 30ml bottles of juice out of a briefcase. Oh, I got you. You all right for the juice?
What?
I put some really nice old Y4 there. It's 6 milligram, best I can get, highest you can get. It's lovely stuff. Wonder why they're always cocking out.
I couldn't possibly comment. But
And then Lazy Dog has asked, I wonder when the first reports of people importing 100% pure nicotine inside a condom inside the stomach will be reported.
so before it bursts, I would imagine. the it's such a valid point, you know. I mean, yeah, we're kind of sort of making light of it there, but yeah, I mean, if they get this wrong, they're just going to create a whole new black market.
Well, they already have done. I mean, I think most people have probably gathered by now that my libertarian views allow me to say, if you want to use drugs, use drugs. I don't care. It doesn't concern me. But they've got a war on drugs, and it doesn't mean that anybody uses any less. If you want a nice bud of decent marijuana, you can get it in any town, any city, just about anywhere really. Find a street corner, you're bound to be able to find somebody with a little plastic baggie with some decent stuff in. But yeah, all of this potential for impending doom and regulation is why I feel at any rate, that trailer that you played right at the top of the show heralds a very important event. A very important event.
Yeah.
There's the cue. Seamless.
So, would you be talking about Vapex, Dave?
Yes, Dave.
What a coincidence. Now, guys, that is seamless, right? Right, yeah, let's draw a line under that. That one's going to keep cropping up again, isn't it? This topic. There's going to be news on this, I think, fairly regular intervals, and we'll keep our ear to the ground, and we'll keep that topic very much there for discussion, I think. But on to Vapex. So after that beautiful link, and then he does that.
Sorry, back at the joint.
Part-time professionals. So, Vapex 2013. So I gather it's getting tweeted about, and there's a little bit of buzz, and there's a little bit of sort of mystery surrounding Vapex at the moment, which I kind of like, actually.
It's a mystery surrounded by an enigma, wrapped up in allegory and veiled by symbolism.
Very nicely put. So, yeah, I've got to be honest, as sort of one of the main instigators of the mystery, I think I quite like it, but we can't keep it too mysterious, else nobody will come.
That's true.
So, so we're going to have to start divulging some details in a fairly near future. So, yeah, sorry, after you, go for it.
I was going to say, let's divulge subtly.
Okay.
Because of what we've just been talking about, can you imagine a situation where you've got 3,000 square metres of floor space, which is that 10,000 square feet? It's about 2 football fields at any rate.
It's big.
Filled with stands from every UK vendor, or as many of them as can make it, as well as some international manufacturers, vendors and distributors. In other words, the whole world of e-cigs under one big roof in a high-profile exhibition centre. That, I think, would lend credibility to a movement, if I'm going to use that word tonight, lend credibility to a product and a movement that thus far has been lurking a little in the shadows. I'm excited as a very excitable thing about this coming off. I really am.
Very excited also, and a little nervous, I don't mind admitting.
I've been considering some super large tenor ladies, yes.
But in truth, we were saying just before we came on air, weren't we? Last time you had Jerry Stimson on VT Talk, and the discussion of, you know, how our pastime, our recreational hobby, whatever we want to call it, needs to raise its profile and get that little bit of credibility. The world needs to know that vaping exists, as opposed to a bunch of guys trying to give up fags. And I think this is going to help with that an awful lot. Credibility was the word you used.
Yes.
I think it also gives a little bit of legitimacy too, to be honest with you.
Indeed, credibility and legitimacy.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas Beer did say earlier that the big meet that they had in Germany had 2,500 vapors, wasn't mentioned in the mainstream media. My feeling is, I mean, I think we can confidently predict at least 3,000, but my feeling is that there'll be somewhere between 10 and 15,000 attendees at this thing. It's going to be the biggest thing we've ever seen. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I think it's something that I can't afford to miss, that's for sure.
No, it's just going to be, what's the word? It's going to be mega. Right. Well, let's tell them where we're at with it.
Yes.
We're at with it. The venue is nailed. It's done. We've seen contracts and stuff, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
The business has been established to basically run the event and protect Dave and my houses if it all goes wrong has been established. We've got certificates of incorporation and VAT registration, and we've even got a bank account eventually, haven't we, Dave?
Oh, yes.
So it's up, it's running, it's gonna fly, guys. It's happening. It's happening. We're talking with sort of a handful of selected vendors at the moment to get the ball rolling. We're not going to reveal the names of those who have confirmed just yet, but we will soon. There's a website underway where we hope to be able to publicise those that are attending the event as exhibitors. But we haven't actually said yet, I think, exactly how it's going to work. I mean, basically, the vast majority of the costs of hiring the centre and what we will be spending a significant amount on publicity for the event, getting it all as much coverage as we can get, basically, is obviously being met by the exhibitors. So if you're a vendor, sorry?
I should also say that from the point of view of the attendee, e-cig user or whoever wants to come along, parking will be free.
It will.
And easy, right beside the venue.
Indeed.
Be a doddle. And it won't cost you to park.
Exactly.
Which is in stark contrast to very many other meets I have personally attended.
Yes.
The venue itself is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And as you'll have seen from the video, it's roomy, it's airy. And somebody has already asked, not on tonight's show, but somebody has already asked, did you make sure it was all right to vape? Yes, we did. They have no problem. None at all.
But yes, obviously, so the bulk of the cost obviously is going to be carried by the industry. There will be a nominal ticket fee to get in. Don't quote me on this, but it's going to be about £5. And as Dave said, that will include things like car parking. And so, you know, it's going to be pretty cheap to get in. We're also looking at doing things like family tickets and stuff like that. We're going through that level of detail now. But just to give you an update, it's basically bang on track. Is that a fair assessment, would you say, Dave?
I would say that we are currently at 100% of what the projected position was for this time. And if everything goes according to be planned, then it should be, as has been said in chat, epic, mega, bonza, and busting.
Busting. That was obviously from a brummie then.
That was me.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
Just trying to make you feel at all.
Excellent. Now, did you say there were a couple of comments about it early on in chat?
Yeah, I pulled those out. That was from Thomas Bear in Germany.
Yeah. No, that's a very valid point. You know, 2,500 people at a meeting, it didn't get any media coverage. Well, this one will.
Yes.
Because we're going to see to that. Yes, it would be a travesty to organise such a huge event.
I have a proxy finger here from Kat.
What's that saying?
That's very close to time, dear boy.
Okay, shall we roll the credits?
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for watching. That's been a good show, actually. I rather enjoyed doing that one. Thank you for watching. I'll be back next week. Thanks very much to Dave Dawn for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Say bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.